censored historic day here.
It sure is, Don. I'm a little shutter shy though of that camera there. How come you're behind the camera? Did you meet the wonderful Isaac family here?
Let's take a look here. You want to introduce around the table for us?
Jackie. Hi. I'm Robin.
Mike. Ken.
We're not Isaac.
Robert Dave.
All right. Give yourselves one clap. So then you have to...
No, I'm
right.
Dave. I'll start with James again.
And right back to Jim.
Son-in-law, the favorite.
Any words of wisdom for Jim here as he wraps it up the year?
I'm right here, thank you.
How about you, Ray?
Well, the only thing I can tell Jim is to keep cool.
Bud?
Should enjoy his retirement.
Bob, you're in the spotlight here.
For all the furnaces they sold, he didn't sell any boilers for me. And they still do heating. It takes 3 days to do it.
All right, get a little comment from Mr. Forsyth here, past president.
What's it good to be? Yep.
Good luck to Jim. John?
He did a great job. And he was our president.
We got Bill here. We start on the time.
Jim, I hope you enjoyed your time as president, but I know that next year you're going to miss it.
Bob?
I'm not going to echo what Dr. Crowder said. I just think you're going to have one hell of a ball team and
Elvis, the king. Wishes to Jim here.
Great year for Jim.
Anyway, good afternoon and welcome to Fellowship Hall at the Hyatt. I'm Jim Isaac and this is our 53rd and final meeting of the Rotary year. It's certainly been my pleasure to be your president for this year. Thank you very much for the welcome. We'll begin our meeting in the usual way with the invocation, then we will correctly recite the pledge. And we will sing America the Beautiful, led by J.M. LeBlanc and accompanied by Jerry Shaughnessy. Then please remain standing for memorial. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we gather today in thanksgiving for another Rotary year filled with fun, fellowship, and service. We are truly thankful for the privilege to have shown Rotary Cares this year through our club's various activities at the Sunshine Campus and throughout the Rochester community. What a joy it is to serve others, service we as individuals are all the more enhanced by in our daily lives. Thank you, Lord, for this club, our friendships, and the fellowship we all share through Rotary. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Testament to the joy service to others can bring. Today we remember the life of Robert A. Klinger, Rochester Rotarian for 18 years. Bob passed away on June 25th at the age of 60. Bob seemed to take every step in his life in the true spirit of Rotary. Personally, his service to the community was felt by his presence on the boards of several organizations, including Rotary. Professionally, Bob chose a career path focusing on philanthropy, how the generosity of the spirit and our resources creates a better life and world for all of us. Those of you who knew Bob well know that his personality was larger than life. If you hadn't seen him in a while, or even if you had, he was most likely to start the conversation with, "Did you hear the one about?" or tell you about his latest round of golf. Bob's sense of humor touched everything that he did. And when it came down to business, Bob was a person who could get things done in a way not too many others could. He truly had a gift for understanding people and making you understand him. Bob's service above self to Rochester Rotary and the community was a true microcosm of all the things he stood for, all the causes he deemed important in life. He was Executive Vice President of the Disabled Children of Monroe County, the organization that runs the successful LPGA tournament in Rochester each year. The tournament that benefits thousands of people at the Sunshine Campus in Camp Hecamo. Bob was a former Vice President of this club and board member of the Charitable Trust. This great Rotarian also demonstrated his devotion to children through his service as President of the Mary Carriola Children's Center Board of Directors. In fact, Bob was instrumental in bringing Mary Carriola to the Sunshine Campus as one of our first community partnerships. Bob's impact will forever be felt at the campus every time we take a boat ride on Ezra's Pond or drink from our own water supply, thanks to Bob's expertise and leadership on the water expansion project. Professionally, the development work he did for the Rochester Museum and Science Center and his various clients in recent years will surely impact this community for years to come. Bob's devotion and love for his family was also quite apparent. He was clearly a proud father and even prouder grandfather. To his wife of 35 years, Sue, his 3 daughters and 6 grandchildren, we offer our sympathy for the loss of a unique individual, friend of Rotary, and true champion of children, Bob Klinger. Now I'd ask that all of us pause for a moment of silence to remember our many friends in Rochester Rotary who have passed away during this Rotary year. Let us all remember Gordon Wasdorf, John Stalbro, Phil Kimmel, Lou Alexander, Charlie Kelmanson, Dick Mack, Dr. Basil Bibby, Charlie Smith, Dick Siebert, and Bob Klinger. Now, in remembrance of those that have passed away, I'd like to have Jane lead us in and let there be peace on earth. may be seated. Now, here from the last time, to welcome visiting Rotarians and guests is a fellow who I have had the great pleasure of working with all year. He's a wonderful person. He's a great Rotarian. He's been a perfect sergeant at arms, and it's very clear that I guess I made the right choice. If you don't know him by now, his name is Jim Coleman. He's a Paul Harris Fellow. He's Vice President of Hyatt Incorporated and a member of Rochester Rotary since 1989. Let's give Jim a nice big hand.
Thank you, President Jim. Hello, Rotarians.
Hi, Jim.
Well, the good news is no internet, no bad jokes today. I would like to take some time, though, to sincerely thank some people that have helped me during the course of this past year. This looks like an easy job up here, but ask Jim Spencer. It's a tough one. First of all the people who work at the guest registration table, especially Joe Hartman, who always made the people write legibly, always had a pronunciation for me for one of those bad names. To Volker Hausen, who never gave up trying to correctly get me to say the exchange student's name. To all the former Sergeant at Arms for all those when I used to be Sergeant at Arms stories. Especially to Perry Bradley, who when I told him I'd been asked to do this job, he said, go ahead, do it, I'll help you. You're right. To Bob Jackson for always sitting up front. Where is he? He's up here, I know he is. To everyone who faxed material from the internet, I did not get that stuff off the internet. Honest to God, I don't even know how to get on the internet. To the Rotary office, if you don't know it, Bob Enright and with the capable help of Krista and Stacy, they run a real well-oiled machine around here. A special thanks to Eileen. You may not have noticed it, but every week Eileen comes with a suitcase and puts it out there. There is everything in that suitcase that a Sergeant at Arms could possibly want. And to all of you, that no matter how lame and how bad my material was, no matter how much I screwed up every single week, everybody always said good job. And finally to you, President Jim, thank you very much for asking me. I had more fun than you can imagine. I do have one last thing, though, for you. I just couldn't resist. I was watching kids say the darndest things the other night, and I couldn't help but think of our soon-to-be President, Laura. They asked a little girl what she'd do if she was elected president. She thought for a minute, and then she looked up at the camera and she said, I'd faint. Today it's my pleasure to introduce 4 visiting Rotarians. Our visitors represent clubs from right here in 7th District 7120, as well as clubs from beyond our district. Visiting Rotarians, would you please stand as I call your name so the members of our club may recognize you, and then please remain standing so that President Jim may greet you formally. From the Rotary Club of Scottsville, the District Youth Exchange student from, I'm not sure what country, but her name is Karen Chan. Hi, Karen. Karen, where are you? From the Rotary Club of Wiesenberg, Germany, Adolf Nudel. Hi, Adolf. From the Rotary Club of Fairport, Scott Millipek. Hi, Scott. Sorry I missed you last week, Scott. And from the Rotary Club of Webster, Ken Lang. Hi, Ken. Special honors today go to the visitor who has traveled the furthest to be with us. That is Adolf Nudel. Adolf, as a reminder of your visit to our club, we have a gift courtesy of our member, Andy Hale, president and owner of McLeod Stamp and Coin Company, which will be presented by Assistant Sergeant at Arms Terry Bradley, who I think is giving it to the wrong person.
Excuse me, Sergeant at Arms.
Yes, sir.
We have a flag for exchange?
Yes, we do. President Jim today visiting Rotary.
Well, welcome visitors. It's always a pleasure to have you. They say that making up is hard to do, but not for Rotarians. It's certainly an inspiration for the rest of us to maintain good Rotary attendance by making up. So again, let's greet our guests one more time, and we'll change the flag.
President of Rochester Rotary one-clap greeting, would you please greet the following guests as I introduce them? Visitors, would you also please stand and remain standing so that President Jim may greet you formally? Father Frederick Bush, guest of Bill Schmidt. Rick Krempin, guest of Bill Zell. Ray Isaac, guest of Jim Isaac. Michael and Robin Isaac, also guest of Jim Isaac. David and Ursula Isaac, guest of Jim Isaac. Kenneth Isaac, guest of Jim Isaac. Bill and Pat Isaac, guest of Jim Isaac. And Dave and Barbara Sturtz, also guest of Jim Isaac. President Jim, today's visitors, or your visitors.
I need to recognize one more. That's my daughter, Jackie Spencer, the long-suffering wife of you know who. I don't know why my family's here, because they want to try to remember what I look like. I haven't been around for quite a while, but for the rest of you, I don't know why you're here, because we don't have a speaker. Maybe you just love Rotary meetings. So, welcome. We love to have you, and let's greet our guests one more time. Now, here with the news is a fellow that just keeps finding ways to give back to Rotary year after year after year. He just continually provides tremendous service to our club. Help me greet Don Elhart, Associate News Director at WOKR TV 13, Rochester Rotary member since 1976, with 22 years perfect attendance. Let's greet Don Elhart. Nice.
Thank you, President Jim. Congratulations on a great year. A year I could not get through without my bifocals. I don't want to hold that against you, but it will be the year I remember, you see. That's that. We take a look at some of our headlines in the news today. An American F-16 fighter fired a missile at an Iraqi surface-to-air missile battery today in southern Iraq. No U.S. warplanes were fired upon. The firing of that missile, they say, is standard operating procedure when an Iraqi radar locks onto a NATO aircraft. Linda Tripp, the woman whose secret tape recordings of conversations with the White House intern sparked the investigation into that alleged presidential cover-up, is at the courthouse and expected to testify today before the grand jury that's looking into that. Postal Service said today, made it official, the cost of mailing a letter will go up by a penny early next year, 33 cents. That change will take effect January 10th, my wedding anniversary, January 10th, 1999. I guess I won't forget that one this year. And the variety of other increases will affect other classes of mail as well. Locally today, we received the sad news this morning. You may have remembered all the publicity in the Dakota Vista neighborhood over the possible cancer cluster. The fight by Debbie Cousins leading that, and her 21-year-old son, Christopher Michael Cousins, passed away early this morning, losing that battle to cancer. In sports, top seed and defending champ Martina Hingis breezed today into the quarterfinals with straight set victories against her opponent from Thailand. Whose name I would not even begin to pronounce. Dedicated tennis fans will know who that is. We look at Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial is down 41 points a little bit before noon. Taking a look at some stocks of local interest, Kodak is up 1 9/16, 72 3/16. Frontier is down 3/8, 31 9/16. Paychex down 3 1/16 at 41 5/16. Xerox down 3/4 at 101 1/4. And of course, although it's down a half, this may be the high for the year as we celebrate Jim's year. Tootsie Roll, $81 a share within the last hour. Partly cloudy, about a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms today, and a high near 80 degrees. A 60% chance of showers tonight, low in the lower 60s. Another morning shower tomorrow. We'll lose power again briefly, I think, and that will be partly sunny, a little less humid though tomorrow, a high near 75. Sunny on Thursday. Partly cloudy on Friday, 83. Partly cloudy Saturday. If you're looking for the weekend, a high of 81. The final degree day chapter is about to be written. We went through a whole year and none of us really understand it still, but in terms of degree days, normally, for this, now we're in the cooling period, of course, normally there would have been enough degree days to make you turn on your air conditioner 82 times. But actually, your air went on 165 times. That's a difference of 83. As a past president of this club, I would like to ask our incumbent president, who has been giving us about a penny a degree day, or 10 cents. Whatever's in that pot, since the difference today is 83, I would like to have whatever's in that pot total $83. So by the end of the day, do you agree to that $83? All right, thank you, President Jim. The end of the degree day. Finally, to kind of follow up Jim Coleman's kids say the darndest things, I share with you a true story. This one shared with me recently about a family that was teaching their 3-year-old daughter, Caitlin, the Lord's Prayer. And for several evenings at bedtime, she repeated the Lord's Prayer. And, you know, we have to remember that our kids are influenced an awful lot these days, not only by television, but by the computers that are in school. Maybe we'll hear about the computers. I know we have been to the computer lab at school number 8. Keep that in mind as you hear Caitlin's Lord's Prayer, as she listened and repeated with pride, right up to the very end. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us some email. Amen.
Thanks, Don. It's a pleasure to wrap up my last meeting by finishing the important thank yous that I've been doing over the past few weeks to all the committee chairs, directors, and vice presidents who make the president's job much easier. I'll start by recognizing the folks who make this weekly program the top-notch product that it is, our Tuesday luncheon KR18. Once again this year, the program committee chaired by Art Aspengren coordinated the informative and compelling programs that everyone could enjoy. This committee is extremely dedicated, which they really must be, to make our Tuesday luncheon forum happen week after week. Thank you to Art and his vice chair, Todd Whitmer. Just last week, we gathered at Locust Hill Country Club for the culmination of months of diligent work by the Rotary Award Committee. The 1998 Rotary Award was presented to Diane Donegan in a very moving tribute to her service above self to the people of this community. Special thanks to Rotary Award Committee Chair Arnold Klinsky and Vice Chair Brenda Bannis for their fine work and for a fine choice in Diane Donegan this year. Sandy Parker, I did see Sandy someplace. Served as director for the Tuesday Luncheon Forum during my year as president. I want to thank Sandy for her guidance and leadership in this area. And a special thank you to Vice President Stan Douglas for always asking the right questions and providing tremendous leadership for this KR18. Thank you to Stan and Sandy. As all Rochester Rotarians know, the majority of the programs and quality activities we engage in year after year take place at Sunshine Campus. I don't have to tell you anymore what an important piece the campus and its KR18 are in the service above self. We provide service above self to more than 5,500 people annually in this community. The Committee of Dedicated Rotarians has been hard at work planning for our 2-week program for young people with disabilities at the campus called Sunshine Camp. Camp is less than a month away, and it looks like it's going to be another enjoyable program thanks to Summer Camp Program Chair Kathy David and her committee. This committee is constantly looking at new ways to create even more exciting additions and improvements to our premier facility. I want to thank you all. Last, but as they say, certainly not least, the important link that makes our club's programs realities are all of your dedicated volunteers. Many of you may have gotten a call from our volunteer coordination committee and many hours of dedicated service to the campus. Thank you both. Finally, a sincere word of thanks to Vice President Doug Boland. Doug seems to know everything there is to know about Sunshine Campus. This gentleman is involved with every aspect of the campus KR18 and will continue to serve this club as a tremendous president-elect and ultimately a fine president. However, what I would ask is all of those people who I just introduced, if they would please stand and let's give a nice round of applause. And then we have certificates up here that I don't know that we have time to give out at this particular time, but please pick them up on the way. So why don't you all stand, please? Let's give a nice round of applause. Of the Rochester Rotary since 1993. James Spencer. Where are you?
mobile collision repair pretty soon. Thank you, President Jim, fellow Rotarians and guests. And Jim, if I may tell you that we all thank you for a wonderful year, and following in your slogan, the old slogan, when you need us, we'll be there. If I could draw your attention to the pamphlets and brochures so neatly done by Robert Enright that were out in the hallway, handed out by Pete Calderhouse. Note the date, September the 3rd, it's a Thursday. Its location is Greystone Golf Club. Wonderful club, very challenging, even for a big hitter like James Norman. Look forward to seeing you there, Jim. I'd like to also recognize Jeff Heater from Chase Manhattan Bank, where relationship is everything, and Pete Calderhouse from Sherman Furniture Rentals. They are this year's underwriters, and without them, we wouldn't have gotten off to the start we have. Could I please have a round for them?
Too well lately, but unfortunately I suffered the same fate that Barry suffered yesterday. Barry told me that he wanted to drive a golf club yesterday, and I suffered the same fate about a week ago, and I guess that's because we need to get better. If you volunteered there, I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. I'd like to thank President Jim for the support that he's given school aid involvement. That's also been very meaningful. And now I'd like to present Jane Scar, Principal of School Aid, who's going to give us an update on what's happened over the last year and how she thinks our involvement has helped make a difference. Jane?
Thank you, James. Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends of Rotarians. I bring you greetings from Roberto Clemente School Number 8, right down the street. President Jim, you mentioned in the invocation the joy of giving. You were masterful in coordinating the joy of giving, and we were the recipients with the joy of receiving, and I thank you for that and congratulate you on your year. And James Norman, you and John Daniels have always been there for the meetings, for the coordination, for the facilitation. You're a large part of why we are moving forward in the right direction, and I thank you. And on a personal level, I thank you for your support. 3 years ago, I came and said, we're going on a path, and we're going to make it the right path. When I took the job, Loretta Johnson was superintendent, and she said, Jane, if you take this job, it's got to be baby steps. And we have taken baby steps. And under the leadership and guidance and support of Dr. Janey, we now are taking stronger, more self-assured steps. I told you 3 years ago we were going to begin at the very beginning and support the middle and the end. And let me tell you what's happened over 3 years. It can't be done. They said it can't be done. You can't turn a school around all by yourself. Well, we're not doing it all by ourselves. We're doing it with support from you. Thank you.
A wise person once said, and so in time this too shall pass. And so it has this Rotary year 1997-98 with me as your president, and Show Rotary Cares as our Rotary motto. Eric Zenglein, who I don't see, the great possessor of all Rotary knowledge, Rochester Rotary knowledge at least, accurately predicted last year. He said, don't do it. He says it'll be the fastest year of your life. And as usual, Eric was right. The year went quickly, and my comments today will be quick, but I do want to review some of our accomplishments and maybe some of our shortcomings of the past Rotary year. First of all, you should know, standing up here, that Rochester Rotary, you are a tremendous audience. You really are. You're responsive, you're attentive, you're very supportive. A speaker can draw a great deal of confidence just speaking to this Rochester Rotary audience. If I had to pick out one person in the audience to thank, it would have to be Bob Jackson. And Jim Coleman touched on it. Bob Jackson, I want to thank him for sitting up in front every week, with a smiling face looking up at me when I needed encouragement or a little help, a little support. He was there when I needed him. Thanks, Bob. I also want to thank past president and friend of mine, Pete Kellerhouse, for not sitting up in front. Because putting up with his giggle is bad enough, but having to look at his face and all of his antics, am I going to handle that? Anyway, as I stand before you today, I'm pleased about all that's been accomplished, and I'm going to share many of those accomplishments with you. I guess we need to ask ourselves, really, think about this. Are these accomplishments the results of this year's efforts? Well, I guess you could say partly. But if I were to stand here and take credit for everything that we've done, I'd also have to change my occupation from heating and air conditioning contractor to politics, because that's what they do. To put things in somewhat of an analogy, I want you to think about this. We're going to call this growing the black bamboo. Now, maybe some of you have heard this story before. Black bamboo is a majestically tall plant. It grows from a nut-like seed, which has a very tough skin. Once the farmer plants the seed, he has to water and fertilize it and care for it for 5 consecutive years. In the 5th year, it will break the seed and start to grow. In 6 months, it will become a majestic 20-foot plant. Now the question is, did the growth occur in the last 6 months? Or was the previous 4 years of loving, caring, nurturing, patient, feeding also part of the growing? The answer obviously is that the first 4 years of diligently working at the process were not completed, there would have been no black bamboo. 5 years ago, our club embarked on the development of a strategic plan. Then President Harry Blazer was the one who got the seeds for the plan. Ex-President Bob Craig made sure that the seeds were firmly planted. President Pete Kellerhouse nurtured, watered, took care of the seeds, fertilized the seeds. Matt Adams came along, guarded the area where the seeds were planted, changed the nourishment a little bit, and really ensured that the seeds would develop. President Bob Moore saw the first shoots of the plant as they broke ground, and his wisdom and knowledge guaranteed their success. I truly believe that I've seen them come to fruition and grow the 20 feet in my term. We recognize that the contributions of a president during a one-year term are important, but the contributions of 85 presidents and thousands of Rotarians through the long history of our club, each one planting seeds along the way, are what made our club what it is today. Our efforts this year were to continue to nurture those seeds previously planted and to plant some new seeds. Another principle that you have to think about is that the black bamboo seed had to give up what it was for the black bamboo plant to develop. Most Rochester Rotary Club members will agree that our club has changed a lot too during its 85-year history, especially with the implementation of the strategic plan. It ain't all been easy. Change is never easy, especially when you're dealing with the emotional issues of the work of a Rotary Club. But we find ourselves today a stronger, a more vibrant, and a wealthier club. We're more able to deliver the services to the community than ever before as a result of the changes that we made. Some painful, but changes were made. Let's look back now to July 1, 1997, the year that our Rotary year got started. If you remember, our guest speaker was Bill Freund, a businessman from Cleveland. He gave us a very stirring, emotional story about his work with the African refugees in Rwanda. You gave him a standing ovation. You also honored 3 other speakers with standing ovations, which brings the total to 4 standing ovations in a single year. Now, I don't keep records on things like this, but Bob Enright tells me that that's some kind of a record. You truly are a great audience, as I said before, but you don't get many standing ovations. Why am I telling you all this? Well, I'm telling you all this because I believe that great speakers get standing ovations. My thanks goes to the program committee for finding great speakers and making our meetings successful. They need to plant seeds in the minds of the movers and shakers in our community that this is the premier downtown luncheon forum. So my thanks to the program committee. On a lighter note, we had some fun with our degree day report, and we raised some money for the Jim Morgan Fund. You noticed that Don Elhart changed the rules when El Nino came along. We had the warmest winter on record. My deal was that I would pay the difference in the heating degree days. Now he switched it over to the cooling degree days. To this day, I'm convinced Don doesn't have a clue what the hell it would be. He gets the numbers from Bill that stands up and tries to relate it to the number of times your furnace turned on or air conditioner, whatever. A degree day is the number of degrees that the day's average temperature is below 65. Simple. That's a heating degree day. But anyway, we had some fun. We raised, I don't know how much now since you levied another 83 bucks on me, but I had ordered $68 in that thing before I came up here. This year, our Rotary Club celebrated its 85th year as a Rotary Club and our 75th year of service to Sunshine Camp. We commissioned a special pin to be worn as part of your Rotary pin. We sold some, we rewarded others as a token of appreciation for a fine. The seed for this pin idea goes back to Hubert Velopek's charity. The pins and fines raised just a little under $3,100 this year for the Jim Morgan Fund. As long as we're talking about money, this year really has no ego. Thanks to Jerry Huff and his community event committee, we raised a record $72,821 for the RPO Christmas show. And this year we already have 10 co-sponsors signed up as support. Thanks to Elmer Conway and Joe Rickson, we raised $125,000 from our LPGA event. And more importantly, the Wegmans involvement has guaranteed the success of the tournament for the foreseeable future. I think they should agree that the tournament, which seemed to have had its better days, has now really been given a new life. Thanks to Ron Axelrod and James Spencer, all kidding aside, our golf tournament raised $15,259. James, in case you haven't been counting, that's what it was. And our committee is projecting $23,000 this year, is that correct? For a great fundraising event. Thanks to Gail Rathbun, we raised $8,183 at a Tuesday luncheon auction. Not too shabby. It's been a record year for the Charitable Trust as well. The assets of the Charitable Trust are at an all-time high. They're beyond the wildest dreams of any of the presidents that I've ever known in this club. We planted a new seed this year too, with the formation of our Planned Giving Committee. Have we been successful this year? Well, I guess maybe from a monetary viewpoint, we bet we have, but money alone does not determine the success of a Rotary Club. Success is defined as the progressive realization of a worthy goal. And we realized some of our goals. We had a goal to improve our attendance at our Tuesday meetings. I'm pleased to report that we've done that. It's not where we want it yet, but we're headed in the right direction. We made progress in member retention by improving communications with those members that we haven't seen in a while. Ted Knowles and his committee, get on the phone and call people. Where are you? We miss you. As the strategic plan grew roots and developed, it became very obvious that the club needed to be restructured and right-sized, as the buzzword is today. So you voted to reduce the size of the board from 25 to 13. That's why I read off so many names before, people going off the board. We streamlined the committee structure as well. Last year, we had, or 2 years ago, we had 33 committees. We've reduced that by 9 committees in just a couple years' time. We've also made significant improvements at Sunshine Campus. We've installed a new freezer for the kitchen, a new cooler for the kitchen, and we completed work on our climbing wall. We've increased the camp size to 157 acres, with the addition of 23 acres this year, thanks to an anonymous donor. Our greatest promotional opportunity in years came about with the United Way Day of Caring out of Sunshine Campus. 150 employees from Wegmans teamed up with about a dozen Rochester Rotarians and worked shoulder to shoulder on camp projects. Completing the project certainly was important, but more important was the opportunity to show how much Rotary cares about making that campus available for those in need. You know, Bob and Peggy Wakeman's comments at our meeting out of Locust, so you heard them, you know that they're committed. They were very, very moved by the event. One of the seeds planted with our strategic plan was to form partnerships with organizations who serve people with disabilities, and also city youth. We want to do this to get more efficient use of the campus. Well, I believe we've completed this project, and this summer, 6 organizations will partner with us in the use of the camp. And we still provide a 2-week Sunshine Camp experience for our Rotary kids. We've done that, as you know, for 75 years. Every President's Challenge is membership, and this year was no different. My objective, quite simply, was to maintain membership at the 430 level. Well, we've not quite done that. We're still losing members, but I'm here somewhat reticent about that, but at least comforted by the fact that the flow of members out of our club seems to be a little less. The angel of death was no stranger to our club last year, as you well know. Like the seeds that a farmer must plant for a future harvest, I believe that members of this club must continually plant the seeds of membership in the minds of people who would put service above self as part of their everyday life and become Rotarians. If I were asked what my greatest achievement was during this Rotary year, I would probably say simply, I was instrumental in bringing 2 people into this club. I think that's critically important. I think it's the most important thing a Rotarian can do, and you don't need to be president to do it. That's the challenge. In closing, a special thank you to my Isaac Heating and Air Conditioning family for keeping the family business afloat. My wife Shirley for being at my side all this time. Special thank you to our wonderful staff under the very competent direction of Bob Enright. When I would praise Bob and thank him for what he did, he would always say, Jim, that's what you're paying us for. Well, a lot of us in this room have employees, and we darn well know when we get what we're paying for, and we darn well know when we get something extra. And certainly give them a nice hand. Now it's time to break out of our shells and spring forth with renewed enthusiasm and vibrant growth to help our club to still greater heights under the very skillful direction of Club President Laura Volk. So we turn the page on another Rotary year, a year where we planted some new seeds for a future harvest, a year where we showed Rotary cares for our community, for our world, and for its people. Thank you. That one down too, Bob, that's fine.
Fellow Rotarian, and I thank you for letting me up here.
You're welcome, James, but the message is that this is a non-Rotarian that will be receiving this award. Non-Rotarian?
Non-Rotarian?
Non-Rotarian.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm serious. This Rotarian has certainly got all the qualifications. She's involved in the club, has almost perfect attendance, attends many committee meetings, and really lives by the 4-way test.
I'll help you here with this one, Jim. This person has all the qualities that we look for in a Rotarian. You're going to give them a special award without first getting them into the club.
You're close, James. But this is a she, it's not a he. And so happens that she doesn't have a job, so she doesn't have a classification. Now, that might seem to you to present a problem, but all we need to do is add a classification. Fred Belushi loves that. Just add a classification.
Now, what would that classification be, oh great leader with 60 vans driving on the road recklessly?
Well, James, rather than tell you what the classification would be, I'd like to read off what I consider to be some of the requirements and what should be included in the classification. Number 1, must be able to overcome tremendous adversity in her personal life. Number 2, must be willing to attend countless numbers of Rotary meetings each week. Number 3, must have an undying love for and commitment to her husband in Rotary. Number 4, must have the commitment to be there whenever needed. Number 5, must be a true role model and best friend. Number 6, must have the ability to raise 5 wonderful children and 10 grandchildren. And number 7, must be the wife of the President of Rotary.
Jim, with all due respect, isn't that an awful lot to be asking of a non-Rotarian?
It probably is, James, but you know, I don't know how else to recognize her and give her an award.
Well, you could give her a Paul Harris Fellow.
A Paul Harris Fellow for Shirley Isaac. Isn't that wonderful? Wonderful. The Rotary Foundation of Rotary International presents to Shirley Isaac, Paul Harris Fellow, in appreciation of tangible and significant assistance given for the furtherance of better understanding and friendly relations among peoples of the world. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It won't be as long as you. You've heard about seeds, you've heard about a plant, you see a bush. Now I'm going to talk about a tree. Along 490, east of Frontier, there grows a large green tree. It covers a sign, red and white, with letters AC. With this hatchet, cut down that tree so we can see the letters ISAAC. If not allowed, spray the sign with Miracle Grow. That ought to bring in plenty of dough.
And we just flat couldn't decide. We debated about Jim. There are some great points. You've heard most of them today. And then there are some other points which we may hear a little bit more about in a few minutes. And we couldn't decide, so we thought we would bring this deliberation to this body. I'd now like to introduce the past presidents one at a time. And as I introduce them, I'll ask them a question about how they feel about Jim and whether he should be admitted to the past presidents organization. Do you think that Jim really has done a good enough job as president to become a member of our group? Surely I do. And Pete Kellerhouse, past president 94-95, a senior active member, vice president Sherman Furniture Rentals, Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1980. You know, Jim's got an image. He's put an image forward this year. Do you think this is really a good image, or is he just kind of renting it?
Renting it, surely yes.
These are very firm and quite answers with great conviction. I'm very happy with that. Bob, you set the high water mark for podium skills when you were president. Has Jim really been all that good? Or is he just, you know, is he up to your standards?
Surely no.
Okay. Harry Blazer, past president 92-93, past district governor, senior active member, and Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1978. When Harry, as you will remember, was district governor, he was known as Harry the King for his affinity for Elvis Presley. I know you've been talking with Elvis lately. What do you think Elvis would think about President Jim?
Surely he would like him.
Okay. Tom Mees, you're famous for changing things around. What I really want to know is, you know, has Jim changed anything around? I mean, is there anything different this year?
Well, surely I can't tell.
Not much changes, huh? I'll be a son of a gun. Bob Maney, past president, 1991, senior active member, senior vice president, Prudential Securities, Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1981. Bob, Jim's leadership has had an impact on our club. And you were famous for the Maney Index, which I think perhaps Don Elhart coined. But has he had any impact on the financial markets?
It's had no effect at all.
No effect, not even Tootsie Roll, huh? Bill Crothers, past president in 89-90, senior active member and president of Robert Wesleyan College, also a Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1981. Do you think that Jim has really learned enough to join our august midst as a past president?
Surely no.
Looking bad, Jim. Looking bad. Now, John Hart was past president in 88, 89, senior active member and a Paul Harris Fellow also, member since 1965. Now, John, I noticed that Jim's been doing a lot of advertising for the podium. You heard it today. I mean, he's advertising for Isaac Heating and Air Conditioning. He's advertising for that collision company. I don't know where they are, somewhere in town. And you know, this is kind of bad. We're not supposed to be doing this stuff in Rotary. Do you think that Jim should be censured for this terrible behavior?
Oh, surely, yes.
And Don Alhart, who's standing here with the camera, who's in back of the camera instead of in front of the camera. I feel kind of foolish having him film me. So past president 87, 88, and a senior active member, associate news director at WOKR TV 13, Paul Harris Fellow, and our 1996 Rotary Award recipient, and a member since 1978. And Don, I guess we've heard all about the degree days, and much has been said about it. But what I want to know is, what's the behind-the-scenes story on the degree days?
It was Shirley's idea.
Probably the best idea she had all year. Hugh Velopek, past president 86, 87, senior active member, a Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1959. Now, what I want to know, Hugh, is how's Jim done? Give me your report card. Has he screwed anything up?
Surely, no.
That's good. Don Forsyth, past president, 84, 85, senior active member, partner in Forsyth and Forsyth, Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1974. Don, you're an attorney. I would like you to hold Jim up to our four-way test. That's our mantra. How's he lived up to the four-way test?
Well, he surely did sometimes.
Bob Buckbit, past president, 83, 84, senior active member, CEO of Buckbit and Company, Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1958. Bob, you know, I saw you boiling mad a couple of times at these meetings. You were really unhappy. How come?
Well, Jim should have really consulted Shirley before he did some of that ad-libbing he did.
Well, you're talking, oh, I know, I remember those. We'll have to remember those when it comes time to vote. Bob Jackson, past president, 81, 82, senior active member and a president of Jackson Welding Supply Company, Paul Harris Fellow. You notice that all these guys are Paul Harris Fellows. You notice that? This is an important thing. And a member since 1974. You know, it seems to me like all of these guys seem to think that Shirley had a lot to do with all of this. You don't really think that Shirley was the real president, do you?
Well, I did see Shirley tugging on Jim's pant leg many times.
Okay. Well, she's been tugging on his pants leg. She had the best idea of the whole year. Probably she had a big impact on all of this, for sure. Bud Rositsky, past president, 80-81, senior active member, president, the Greening Group, a Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1968. Bud, what's going on here? These guys are both acting like presidents. What do you think?
I think they cooked the whole thing up.
Okay. Ray Keller, past president, 77, 78, senior active member, Paul Harris Fellow, and a member since 1967. Ray, this is serious business. You know, in all your years, have you seen a president that's committed so many high crimes and misdemeanors?
Sure, when Pete Kelderhouse was president.
You thought you were going to get away free, didn't you? Is the longest living president who is here today, and I think that it's up to Al as the dean of our past presidents to render a decision here on whether we should let Jim into our midst.
Well, surely we ought to consult with Shirley.
I think we should thank Shirley. Let's all thank Shirley.
How about this? That little red engine, that little red box of Jim that nobody knows what it is or what it's for, it's got about $251 in it with plus the 83. Aha! Now I'll tell you what, I'll throw in $5, and how many others will match that? And that'll be the Jim Morgan. And
I'll match the $5. Anybody else match that $5? If we can raise $250, we might let him in, right? That's right.
correct.
Okay. Hold up your $5. We'll ask the members of the Fines Election Committee to collect that money. Al, we've now matched all of the money that's in the furnace. What do you think?
Reluctantly, I think we ought to accept it.
Okay, Jim, you are now a past president. Would immediate past President Bob Moore please pin the past president's pin on Jim Isaac? Bob?
Appreciated symbol of passing into retirement. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Now, as immediate past president, it's my pleasure to introduce your president for 1998, 1999. Laura Volk. Laura, would you please come up here? Let's give her a nice round of applause. She's a peacemaker because she loves everybody. She wants to feed the hungry and house the homeless and wrap her arms around the community and do all the wonderful things that she does. And she's really intent on doing that. In fact, I got word just recently that she wants to adopt, not a child, Russia. She wants to adopt a country. Let's congratulate and greet Laura.
I'm not supposed to do that. I just want to say it has been probably the hardest thing to get ready for this meeting, to color coordinate myself with Jim. We have shopped so much. Just like to close the meeting by thanking everyone for being here. Isaac family, we're proud of your mom and dad. And now we're going to give them back to you so you can have more time with them. Thanks for sharing them with us. Jane, James, school number 8. You make us proud to be Rotarians and give us a real focus and mission. And we're glad you could share this day with us. Jim and Shirley, thank you for a wonderful year. And I'm going to try to get Shirley under contract to help me next year. Need the help. Officers, committee chairs, thank you for all your hard work this year. And August past presidents, you are an adorable group. I just want to tell you that. With my record of criminal behavior, I'm going to have to schmooze all year to get in. You know that. Close with the thought for the day. We should all be concerned about the future because we will have to spend the rest of our lives there. Meeting adjourned.